Please be seated. How many of you are with me in that there is nothing better than a good Christmas pageant, right? A good Christmas pageant with some wayward angels and stray sheep, the chaos of costumes, and some parents trying to direct the chaos. It brings to mind the Christmas Peanuts special, right? When Linus stands there and he says, "Lights, please." And we have that iconic moment where he has his blanket and he's proclaiming the good news from the Gospel of Luke. The shepherds, the angels, the manger. It is wonderful, and it is chaotic and messy and perfect. I love being in the midst of that kind of hum, all the preparation and the busyness and the activity. Most recently, I had an experience with our angel tree preparation, the fun of picking out that just right gift and wrapping it. Now, I guarantee that I live closer to the church than anyone. Right next door, for those of you not in the know. And you'd think that living right next door, I would be the first one to give my gift to Bonnie and Neville at their table. Or maybe even when it was due, which was last Sunday. But no, I did not do that. And I didn't bring it on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday. I even have a key to the closet where they're stored, still didn't bring it. Neville sent at least 2 emails, a few texts, 2 phone calls, one of which I answered, to make sure that I had not forgotten. I kept telling her, "No, sure, it's wrapped. It's right by the front door where it stayed." And so at about 10:01 yesterday morning, I see my phone. It's Neville. I'm like, "Hello." We're packing the bag, so I grab the gifts and race out the door, and I'm coming down the sidewalk past Chapin, who's playing catch on the sidewalk. George is hauling greenery in here that's just the gorgeous greenery and the flowers. Brett's doing some kind of setup for Sunday. Lonnie and friends are making sandwiches, and I'm saying, "Hey, gotta move fast. I'm getting to the finish line." And I go up the stairs, screech and slide into upper Sweetland, and there we go. I'm at the finish line. But the whole time I was worried and anxious, and I was thinking to myself, Neville shouldn't have to call you to bring your gift. Why are you so late? How disorganized can you be? It's just about 200 feet away. Seriously, how hard is this? Running those internal tapes that seem to alternate between unreasonable perfectionism and debilitating shame and anxiety. You've got your own internal tapes that have their own labels and voices. Those are mine, I confess. So I'm sitting there, just making it. I'm doing it. I'm making forward movement. I get into the room, and you know what? Not one person was ashamed or upset. And in fact, I get in there, screeching to the finish line. They applaud. They're laughing. They're cheering. She made it! Yay! They welcomed me like everything was just fine. And you know what? It was. It was just fine. It was messy, and it was perfect. So here we are, the 3rd Sunday of Advent. It's a little messy, and it's a little perfect. And we have John's gospel. And here we have John in the Baptist in the wilderness proclaiming repentance. This gospel was written to a community that's a little bit later in the evolution of Christianity. It's a community that had dispersed a little. It was growing. It was diverse. It wasn't just a bunch of house churches of people who were very similar. It had grown. It was messy. It was chaotic. It was perfect. This church breaking out of infancy and trying to seek its identity in a complex, very messy world. So John, as he's writing his gospel, he dismisses entirely the genealogy of Matthew's gospel with his insistence on the tidy genealogy of ancestry. You remember that one where he wants to make sure we understand that Jesus is of the line of David, from the line of Abraham. He goes all the way back in very perfect ancestral generations. John dismisses the very wonderful St. Luke's pageant gospel, where we have the angels and the prophecy and the donkey and the stable. He's not going there. John is a little bit closer to Mark. They both just start out in the desert, but Mark just gallops off with baptism and collecting the disciples, and just as if Mark is writing on a deadline for a Netflix series or something. But here we go. We have this narrative frame, this frame that is cosmic in quality. And as much as I love the other stories, this one that starts out with the poetic, explosive, cosmic beginning, it is so right for us today. It is so right for our world and our church and where we are. Today, as we light the pink candle and we have this celebration Sunday, and yes, we get to celebrate because Michael finally gets to wear the chasuble. Yeah, it's gorgeous, man. So we were back in the vestry, and he's putting on the blue. I'm like, man, where's your pink chasuble? You're in my sermon. Go gaudete, man. Go gaudete. And it is as gaudy as it can be. You did it. No, it's gaudete. Because today is Rose Sunday, but it is also called gaudete. It is gaudy. But the day takes its name from the Latin word gaudete, rejoice, which is the first word of the introit of today's Latin Mass. Gaudete in Domino semper, rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say, rejoice. So go gaudete, my friends. And it is so easy to hear this as a exhortation to rejoice in a way that feels forced or hard, where we railroad right past the soul's complexity towards kind of a simplistic emotion of joy or rejoicing that relies on busyness, a packed calendar, some noise. A certain level of noise is required. Glitter, to show just how joyful we can be while denying what sometimes can be the deep grief and reality of the third Sunday of Advent as we approach Christmases. For many of us, it's a hard season. It's a hard week. Grief and anxiety can just kind of start to well up from who knows where, or maybe you know exactly where. This season, this week. Rejoice in the Lord always. And again, I say, rejoice. We are called to rejoice in the midst of reality. As Isaiah proclaims, he lays it out for us better than anybody I have ever known. He tells us what the world is really like. And again, the Lord is present and turns it around. And it's like he wrote that yesterday for us, isn't it? Were you listening? It sounds as if he's describing the world exactly the way it is right now, like a good prophet does. We are not called to rejoice in a superficial world or in a glitter bomb of denial and perfection. No, we are called to rejoice in the midst of the real world we live in. The world will ask you to shine a veneer of perfection over your life. Hang the ornaments just right so you miss the fun of decorating. Make sure those kids are dressed or showing what a great parent you are or a perfect family we are. So the fun of an event and the fun of being together is lost in bizarre and unattainable expectations. Perfection and anxiety will strip every parcel of joy that might be found from this holiday. Don't you let that happen. Don't let anybody take your joy away. Let's agree. Can we just agree on the sly a little bit? None of us have it together. We're all barely hanging on. Those of you who really have it together, you can just sit quietly right now. But we're rejoicing. We are rejoicing in the midst of, maybe in spite of, to cope with our lives that are, complicated, gloriously messy, in a world that is breathtakingly fractured and conflicted. It's on fire and it's at war. Read Isaiah. His world was too. And he tells us, rejoice. The Lord is near. We, like John, we are called to bear witness to the light. Bear witness as if we are the first one, like John. So pay attention now and notice John comes first. John comes before any of this. He comes in the darkness before the light, the chaos before creation, the loss before redemption, the confusion and uncertainty before you walk through and into a new season of your life. He comes before and he proclaims what he knew when he leapt in his mother's womb, recognizing the presence of the light that existed before time and before creation. Right next to him, carried within Mary, the light that grows and grows, covering the earth and all time and forever, reaching through and into your life right now, illuminating the places where it hurts, healing that which is broken, easing that which is difficult. That light of Jesus Christ started from the beginning and is present here and now, lighting up and baptizing with fire our time, our lives, this church, this fractured world. Celebrating, that light celebrates who you are exactly right here and now. You do not have to figure it out. And isn't that good news in and of itself? Your house doesn't have to be decorated perfectly, and it's not going to be. Jesus is still coming, my friends. Your relationships can be complicated and messy and fraught. Jesus is still here, still coming. Your heart may be broken with grief and loss. Jesus is still coming, still here. And we are called to bear witness to that light as surely as Mary bears witness with her own body, knowing that the joy she feels is tempered by a sword that will pierce her own heart too, as the angel foretold. And the women who stand there holding in themselves prophet and Messiah both, they rejoice. You think they knew what was going to happen? The only thing Mary knew was that a revolution was coming and her heart was going to be broken. The angel was very clear about that. But if we listen carefully, it is not at all close to the joy that showers down on Christmas with lights and glitter and noise and busyness. No, Mary and Elizabeth have a joy that is closer to the reversal that Isaiah talks about, that Mary is very clear about in the Magnificat. It is the joy of a revolution and a rebellion and a reversal that brings about a kingdom that is unlike any that has been seen before. Never forget that when the women meet one another, John and Jesus recognize each other, and that explosion of joy was a plan to overthrow a great empire. Like Isaiah proclaims, like Mary proclaims in the Magnificat, and much like today, we light a candle to proclaim something over and against what the world has to offer us. To rejoice in the Lord always. Howard Thurman writes to us, I will light candles this Christmas, candles of joy despite the sadness, candles of hope where despair keeps watch, candles of courage where fear is ever present, candles of peace on tempest-tossed days, candles of grace to ease those heavy burdens, candles of love to inspire all of my living, candles that will burn all year long. These candles will burn for a couple more weeks. Let us light candles that are going to burn all year long, reflecting a joy that wells up from within, a response to the fullness of call, the call that is at the edge of everything we love and everything that we hold dear. It is insistent joy that is stubborn and disciplined. It is a habit of joy. Let this pink candle, this gaudy rose candle, symbolize our commitment to stubbornly insist on joy in the face of all. Like Paul exhorts in his letter today, be determined to rejoice because we are beloved by God. You are beloved by God. I am too. So is this church. And so is the world we walk into, holding our light of joy high, unwavering, insistent, stubborn, and clear. That is the candle we light today, and that is the candle that we will hold all year long.